James and the Chrucksh. James had been left in the engine shed for several days for being naughty. He was allowed out once when Henry stopped in a tunnel. James thought this was his chance to make amends for treating his coaches so roughly and making an hole in one of the brake pipes. But he hadn't managed to get Henry out of that tunnel, and he'd been back in the shed since. He was feeling miserable.
I'll never be allowed out again,
he thought sadly.
I shall have to stay in here forever, and no one will ever get to see my red coat.
He didn't realise that he hadn't seen Henry since that rainy day. He was too unhappy with his own situation. Eventually I came to see him. I know you're sorry, James, I said. I know too that you did your best to move Henry out of that tunnel. It's clear to me that a little rain doesn't bother you with your bright red coat of paint. James smiled. But I want you to know that you've given me a lot of trouble, I went on. Though you're not the only one. Between you and your bootlace, Henry refusing to come out of the tunnel, and Mildred refusing to go into the tunnel, people are laughing at my railway, and I don't like that at all.
I'm very sorry, sir,
said James.
I will try to behave.
That's a good engine, I said. I want you to pull a goods train. James was delighted. He puffed away to the big station yard.
Here are your trucks, James,
said Thomas.
Have you got some bootlaces ready?
And he ran off, laughing rudely. Oh no, growled the Chrucksh as James backed down on them. We want a proper engine, not a red monster. James took no notice, and started as soon as Lizzie blew a whistle.
Come on,
he puffed. We won't, screamed the Chrucksh. James didn't care. He pulled the screeching train sternly out of the goods platform. The Chrucksh tried hard to make him give up. Sometimes their brakes would slip on. Sometimes their axle boxes would run hot. And sometimes they would bump and bang so much that they upset some of their loads onto the line side. Each time, James had to stop and the trouble had to be put right. And each time, James would start again. He was determined not to let the Chrucksh beat him. Give up, called the Chrucksh. You can't pull us, you can't. I can and I will, puffed James. Slowly but steadily, he hauled the train along the line. Ahead was the hill where Gordon had once gotten stuck.
It's ever so steep,
puffed James.
We'll go fast and get those trucks up that hill before they know it, said Charlie. Don't let them stop you.
So James went faster. Soon he was halfway up the hill, but it was hard work.
Will the top never come?
He panted. There was a sudden jerk, and it all came easier.
I'm doing it, James beamed. It's easy now.
But Charlie shut off steam. They've done it again, he groaned.
We've lost our tail.
A coupling had snapped, and the last 8 trucks were running backwards down the hill. But Lizzie applied Dancehall's brake and made the runaway stop. Then she got out with her red flag toward approaching engines. So that's why it was easy, said James as he backed his train carefully down.
What silly things trucks are. There might have been a crash.
Lizzie had flagged Edward down. Then she coupled the breakaways to the train again.
Shall I help you, James?
Edward called.
No, thank you, answered James. I'll pull them myself.
When Lizzie blew a whistle, James was ready.
Don't let them beat you,
called Edward. James pulled as hard as he could. Come on, he puffed.
You're doing well,
whistled Edward as he watched James slowly struggle up the hill.
It's steep, but I'll do it. It's steep, but I'll do it,
snorted James. Clouds of smoke and steam poured from James's funnel as he finally reached the top.
I've done it,
he panted. James rested as his crew pinned down the truck's brakes, and then the train rolled over the top of the hill and down the other side. They reached the next station safely, and James rested in the yard. Edward arrived at the station with his coaches. One of his passengers got out and walked down the platform ramp and over the rails towards James. It was me.
Oh dear, what will he say?
James wondered sadly. Then he saw that I was smiling. I was in Edward's train and I saw everything. You made the most troublesome trucks on the line behave. After that, you deserve to keep your red coat.